Thank you for choosing CTN. And now, it's time with Herman and Sharron.
That'd slow down the divorce rate, wouldn't it?
I guess
Our guest is telling jokes.
I guess she's telling me a joke. It's a really good joke. I wish you could have heard it. I love you. That's my sign right there. This
Yes,
is,
you already know. I'm Sharron.
This is Sharron
That's
Bailey,
Herman.
spelled with 2 R's. Yes, she found that out when she read her birth certificate
Herman.
and discovered that it had 2 R's. Because when we were first married, you were only signing it with Sharron with 1 R.
Why are you going this
route? I just thought they might want to know this and give them a little idea.
I don't think they care one bit
Yes, they
about
do.
it.
Yes, they do. They really care about the fact.
They're going to care about our guests this morning.
We're going to. Well, it could be evening too, because they're going to be watching.
No, it's this morning.
Okay, if you're watching in the evening, just pretend it's morning. My marriage manual. In fact, I just read on here, it's the new revised edition. So you folks that go online right there, centralcounseling.org. Order your book. This book, I'm not kidding you. Going through this book, reading it, I could not cover in a week of shows even close to what this book covers in marriage. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Well, you know what I know already is our guest has very good humor, which you need in a marriage. You need to have a lot of humor.
I've got to tell you
to get along.
I got to tell you about this. While Dave takes a shot of Dr. Bob Ross. There he is right there. He is so educated. Let me just share some of the stuff. Right, he has a BS degree in Southeastern Louisiana University. He has a master's degree at Columbia Theological Seminary. He has a PhD from Emory University. And on and on and on it goes. And by the way, he's going to be on our program for approximately a half hour. Just to give you a little idea, if you go to him for marriage counseling, $90 an hour.
So they're getting some good free stuff today.
Look what they're getting on live television. Good to have you.
Yes.
Thank you. Good to be here. Thank you very much.
Now, this guy, Dave, get a close-up shot of him because he's amazing. 82 years old. He walks like a guy about 40. You've been married how many years?
62.
62 years.
Got married before I knew what I was doing.
So you have the experience.
Yes, I have had a little bit of experience.
Now, how many children?
3 children, 9 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren.
How many?
3.
3 great-grandchildren.
Wow. Good for you. We're waiting for our first one.
Yeah, we're waiting for our first one.
No, wait a minute. 4. We just had our 4th one.
There you go.
A couple months ago.
Congratulations, man.
I mean, they're coming fast and furious now. Once it gets started.
Where did you meet your wife 62 years ago?
We met in a little Bible college in Louisville, Kentucky. Good place to meet a spouse.
Yes, I was born and raised in Camelsville, Kentucky.
Were you really? Okay.
So you were born or met in Louisville?
Louisville, Kentucky, yes.
And did you spot her or did she spot you?
Well, I think, I was probably looking around and there she was, prettiest girl in school,
Wow. So you were going to a Bible school?
Little Bible college, yes.
What was the name of it?
At that time it was called the Kentucky Bible College. They later changed the name to Southeastern Christian College. It was just a 2-year school.
And so you wanted to be what? I mean, with all these degrees you've got, it's kind of like you would have gone to Yale or someplace like that.
Well, that's quite a story about how I ended up there. I think it was just through God's providence. Getting out of high school, I had thoughts that I would be an engineer. I was the first person in my family, 5 children. I was the only one who graduated from college. So being educated was not really much of a family tradition.
Yeah.
But you know, I loved science and did very well in high school and thought, well, I'll be an engineer. I didn't know much about it, but it sounded good.
Yeah.
Connected with science. But then in the summer, before I enrolled at the University of Tennessee, lived in Knoxville, I was convicted to attend this little Bible college for some reason. I don't know why. I really can't explain it. But I'd heard about this little school, and,
that kind of
God touched my heart, and
Wow.
that's where I ended up.
Did that kind of form your life from that point on?
It did very much, yes.
I guess so. He met his wife there.
Yeah.
Yes, met my wife there, and really came to understand the meaning of the gospel and the meaning of God's grace and what it means to know Christ.
Now, was that a Disciple of Christ school? Or?
No.
Okay.
It was connected with the non-instrument churches of Christ.
Isn't it amazing how many names we've got for,
Well, yeah,
for what the Bible teaches?
Yeah, how many?
Yeah,
Well,
it's amazing. Now, you say marriage is in decline around the world.
For sure.
Why?
why is it? I'm not sure why, but it is. There are just fewer and fewer people getting married.
So basically, they're saying we can live together. I don't need a piece of paper that proves that. Is that what
Right.
they're saying?
Yeah, they say that, right?
What do you say?
Well, the piece of paper, it is true, the paper is not all that important. What is important is what it stands for, and that is it stands for that kind of commitment that one makes in marriage, the vows that you take. It's the vows that you take, and taking those vows seriously, to love for better or worse till death do us part. All right, that's what's important. And what is so bad about the decline of marriage is that people who are cohabiting tend to break up at an even higher rate than people who divorce. And we know that the divorce rate is way up, something like 50%. And
That's just in church.
I'm afraid it includes that.
Yeah.
Certainly, yes.
Yeah.
And then the cohabitation, the rate of people who are cohabiting, the rate that they break up is even higher than that.
Yeah, what's
And
to
you know
keep
who
them
the
together?
people who suffer the most are the children.
The children.
Yeah.
That's why this one couple said they were going to wait till the children died.
Yeah.
They really
But the rest of the story is how long were they married?
well, 75 years.
They were 75 years
They
old.
had to wait quite a while.
They had to- before they got a divorce, because they needed the children to die. Okay, you say in your book, men and women are different. Okay.
Did I
you know
say that?
Yeah, you said that. Men and women are different. Women perceive marriage how? You cover that on page 20 in case you want to refer to your book.
I may need to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
What did I say there about that?
Okay.
Women
Wow.
perceive marriage.
Differently. I'll just go there because I read it. All right, here we go.
It's been a while since I've read my book, Herman.
yeah. Okay. That's where you said it. I needed to mark exactly the location, but that's where you said it. Men and women differ.
Oh, the woman perceives marriage as a structure in which she can feel secure
Okay, let's
in a
stop right there.
sexual relationship.
Yes, okay.
Which has the potential for producing offspring.
Okay, and then you say men perceive marriage. Okay, how?
Well, they tend to see marriage. Let me put it this way. Back in 1952, when I got married, I fell in love with this beautiful co-ed at Kentucky Bible College, right? And I wanted to sleep with her. I wanted to go to bed with her so bad.
Without marrying.
Well, I just wanted to go to bed with her, but the only way I could do that was by getting married.
I got you. Okay.
That's the only way you could go to bed with a
You're
woman
absolutely right.
in 1952.
That's exactly right.
So I'll be honest with you. That had a lot to do, and in fact, I'm sure it was the main thing.
Yeah. So you didn't get a message from God. You just got a message from the flesh.
From the flesh. Although it is true that those hormones that were working on me and are driving me to copulate
Yeah.
Let's be honest. That's a gift of God. You know, that didn't come from Satan. The drive to reproduce. In fact, one of the curses in the Western world today is that not enough children are being produced.
Yeah, especially in China.
Well, especially, yeah, and in Asia too. I said the Western world.
Yeah.
So a real problem in Europe. Immigration tends to help that a little bit because they tend to have more kids. But anyway, that's the first commandment in the Bible, isn't it? Multiply.
Yeah.
That's how we
That's
got
right.
this
It's
planet.
the very first thing God told Adam and Eve, isn't it? So, yeah, so there is that drive. But I think for women, marriage provides that safety. They also have a need to unite with the opposite sex, but I think they feel more of a need for that safe, secure environment
And
that puts a fence around it so that sex doesn't become destructive.
So the man, he perceives marriage sexually?
I think so.
Well, that's why the marriage is breaking down right now.
Well,
one
unless,
of the big
unless he
reasons.
learns, and if he's committed, there was something else. I did know this, that when I was getting married, I was committed to this woman. You know, I knew that. I mean, that's the way I was raised, and I knew that for better or worse, you had to take that seriously. That, I don't know that that's really on my mind. You know, when you get married and they say for better or worse, you don't really stop and think, well, how bad could it get?
Yeah.
You don't really think about that.
How bad did it get?
We had some tough times. We had some really rough times.
But you stayed together.
We were committed. We stayed together. And finally, you know, I learned how to do marriage. It took me 40 years.
Yeah.
First 50 years are the hardest, I say.
Yeah.
Always the hardest. And it took me a long time. I think it's possible to learn to do marriage a lot quicker. I was pretty stubborn, pretty insensitive. You know, I knew the words from the Bible, love your
Wife
wife
as yourself.
like Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of growing to do.
So what's one of the biggest problems that couples are facing that come to you today in their marriage?
Well, the fundamental issue that causes conflict in a marriage is the fact that when we get married, we are looking for a safe, close relationship, somebody that we can trust, who will accept us just as we are. But inevitably, as differences arise, as they will, you know, there are no two people, unless they're clones. I guess identical twins are pretty close to being the same. But otherwise, we're different, and the friction, the conflict arises. And then we begin to wonder, is this person, do they really care about me? And the way we react to that is often in a defensive manner. And we start arguing, or we start withdrawing from one another. And what we're really arguing about, or what the conflict is all about, is I feel threatened that this relationship, which is so important to me, feels like it's at risk, that this person is not there for me in the way I need them. That's the fundamental issue in marriage that has to be resolved and worked out. Now, I believe that spiritual and emotional maturity is one of the primary requirements for learning to deal with that friction and that conflict. And that if you aren't grown up when you get married, you better grow up pretty quick, or you're going to have trouble.
Yeah, you say on page 33, in case you want to cover this one, intimacy. My husband and I have always been afraid of the stranger in each other.
Yes.
What does that mean?
The stranger in the other person is actually that part of me that I don't like. And we will find that person in the person we marry. We will find the part of me that I don't like, and that I don't feel comfortable with. Some people call that our shadow self. You know, we have a primary way of presenting ourselves. Some people are very quiet.
Yeah.
you know, soft-spoken. Other people are brusque, kind of aggressive, assertive. And we tend to marry, you've heard the old saying, we marry our opposite.
True.
You know, well, that's that shadow self. The opposite that I'm marrying is a part of me that I haven't owned and I feel uncomfortable with. And so I really need to get acquainted with me.
So,
That's unusual. That's interesting.
so that intimacy could be a problem then because of that.
Right, yeah. And then, because then I will begin to fight that part, see, the girl marries this guy because he's a strong, silent type. She really admires that. And he likes her because she's so vivacious and she's the life of the party, right? But after about 5 or 6 years, he gets tired of her talking so much, and she gets tired of him not talking. And they start fighting over that. The very thing that attracted them
It's interesting.
is the thing they start fighting about.
Wow. You say marriage is a perpetual process of negotiating.
Yes. Because of the differences that we have. And I don't know whether I go on to say, but there is an authority who studied these things statistically, and he says 66% of the differences in a marriage are irreconcilable.
What?
60%.
66%, about 2/3.
6%.
And that's because when he means irreconcilable, it's like, let's take the temperature. You know, do you like the temperature set at 70? Does your wife like it exactly the same place you like it?
No,
No.
She's hot, I'm cold.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not going to ever be reconciled. Unless
that's why I
something
said-
happens
Actually,
to you biologically.
he likes it at about, he'd like it at 70 probably.
70.
But
But what do I set it at?
73, I would like it at 75. So see, it's right in the middle.
Yeah. But so
Feels
you
too
can
cold.
do that. You can go right in the middle, but each one of you is giving up something a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You can do
negotiating.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a negotiation. You can give up a little something there, but the fact is that you really haven't reconciled the differences.
No, we
You're
haven't.
still
I'm still
different.
resentful.
You're still different.
Just kidding.
The way you know that your body
She has a lot of blankets.
yeah. Okay. There you go. You're still different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What kind of food do you like? You like beef. She likes fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you can go to a fish restaurant one time and beef the other time, or you can each order different things.
Yeah.
But there's a
Yeah.
difference.
57 years together, we figured a lot of that out.
Yeah. And you know how to live with it without feeling
Yeah, and
that
what-
your relationship is threatened.
Yeah, in the early years, everything was traumatic.
Exactly.
In the later years, you go, that is no big deal.
Exactly.
So you just, go on with
Exactly.
life.
There you got it.
You say, page 39. See, I'm telling him in case he wants to grab his book. That's all. Actually, look at the books and read the books. So you know. You say, when men and women bear the fruit of the Spirit. This really is great. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control.
Yeah.
You can work together
Exactly.
as long as you've been married for 62 years, if you have that going on.
Right. You can take, I believe this, you could take any man who bears the fruit of the Spirit and any woman who bears the fruit of the Spirit, even if they've never met before, no matter where they come from or what they're like, if they each are filled with the Spirit and they are married, they're going to have a wonderfully happy marriage.
Wow.
That's my belief.
Have you gone in your marriage, handled any physical changes in each of you that has been pretty traumatic?
Physical changes?
Yes. I mean, you've been in good health, both of you?
Yes, in fact, well, my wife is 83. She's about 11 months older than I. So between the two of us, what's 82 plus 83? That's 165. We have between two of us 165 years without a night in the hospital.
My goodness.
Praise be to God.
Yeah, I was
right?
going to say, you're blessed.
So do you smoke and drink, or I mean?
A little bit of both. Not to excess.
Not to excess. Yeah, we attempt to take care of ourselves. We don't exercise, take vitamins, but we never see a doctor.
Well, I do exercise. I stay pretty active. My wife doesn't exercise very much, but we've had good health, both of us.
So your genetic pool on both sides pretty good.
Yes. And we were very careful to pick out the right parents before we were born.
That's right.
Yes.
Yes. This is my selection right here. Yeah. You say, persons dependent upon their partner for validation. So when you're counseling, you must get a lot of that.
And that causes a problem, of course. To depend on your partner to validate your worth as a person. Our worth as a person doesn't come from somebody liking us or approving of us. It comes from the fact that we're children of God, made in His image and redeemed by His Son, right? That proves our value, that we were purchased not with gold or silver, but with the precious blood of His Son.
Right.
So if my wife is unhappy with me, that doesn't mean that I've lost my worth. Now, I need to examine myself and ask myself, have I done something unloving or unkind that contributes to her unhappiness? And if I have, I need to change that, because God holds me accountable, doesn't He?
Yes, He does.
For how I treat her. But I sometimes ask people, when you got married, did you promise to keep your spouse happy? Well, I'll ask you, Herman. Sharron, did you all promise, when you got married, you stood up there, took your vows, did you promise to keep each other happy?
I think I probably thought.
It was your job, but it wasn't. The preacher didn't ask you.
Actually, I never even thought about that.
The preacher didn't ask you that, did he?
No, he didn't.
What did he ask you? Do you promise to love?
Yeah.
He didn't?
Sickness and health.
And say, yeah, but making someone happy is not the same thing as loving them, is it?
No, it isn't. You can't make somebody happy.
No. And that's not your responsibility.
No.
Jesus didn't make everybody happy. In fact, He made a lot of people very unhappy, didn't He? But He certainly was full of love for everyone. So that gets back to that sense of validation. You know, I'm only validated if you're happy with me. No.
Yeah.
That can lead to all kinds of problems. I read a book when I first started marriage counseling about 7 or 9 myths about marriage, and I've forgotten what the others were, but I remember one of them. It was a myth that you have a bad marriage if you can tell your spouse to go to H. That was the word the author used. Yeah. This is a Christian program. I don't want to start cursing here. Basically, he said, it's a myth. You have a bad marriage if you can say no to your partner. The truth is, the only way you can have a good marriage is to be able to say no.
Wow.
That doesn't mean that you should always be saying no. Hopefully you're a very giving person. But you have to have to know your limits and to be able to say, no, I just can't do that.
So in other words, you have permission to say no.
Well, whether you have permission or not, you have to be able to do it in a very kind and gentle way. You don't have to be aggressive or mean about it. Yeah. For example, if my wife wanted me to go shopping with her every Saturday and walk the mall, I'd have to say no. Now, that's just not my thing.
You
now,
hate malls.
I will go with her sometimes, and I'll do it gladly.
Yeah.
The Lord loves a cheerful giver.
That's right.
I don't particularly love going to the mall, but I love my wife, and I'll do it for her as a gift. But I'm not going to give her every Saturday at the mall. I will say no.
Yeah.
And she says no to me on certain things.
Yeah. You say, portrait of a healthy marriage. Here it is, folks. This is worth the time we've been spending here. Feeling good about oneself. Boundaries. Honest emotion, just to name a few, because you got a lot more. I mean, there's so much in this. It'd take you a good week to go through this. I mean, if you actually are reading it.
But they're little short chapters.
Yes.
You can read each one
Yep.
in just
Okay.
10 to 15 minutes.
Portrait of a healthy marriage, feeling good about oneself. So that's important.
Yes, you're validating yourself through your faith in God and knowing who you are.
Yeah, that's what she didn't get when we got married. I never felt good about myself
Okay.
until later in life, right?
Okay. You depended on her for your validation?
Pretty much, I think.
Well, you know, she
Okay.
was so good and I was so bad.
In his mind, yeah.
I mean, in my
He
lifestyle.
just didn't like himself, which
Okay.
And yeah, I guess that I would, you know, it's like I was thinking, okay, I got this person that's so good. The reflection is going to help me,
I see.
which it has, you know. But then later in my life, I got rid of that thing that I carried from my parents and from the childhood and all that kind of stuff.
I understand.
So it left me, but we got about 2 minutes, I think, left. The book. What was your purpose for this book? Did you give me? Okay. I'm laughing at my time cue, but this book, passion to write it.
Well,
We got 1 minute.
It grew out of my work with couples, and as I dealt with them, I think I need to put something down in writing that I can give them, a little handout. And over 25 or 30 years of doing marriage counseling, I put together these little handouts. And then I thought, well, why not just put them together in a book?
Okay.
yeah.
And in addition, because of my background in theology and philosophy, I wanted to put together a section on really the theology of marriage.
Wow. So this is it, folks.
Yeah.
There it is on the screen. You can get your copy. Make sure you do that. Spend time in the Word of God today. Would you do that? Read at least 2 chapters. That is easy. Then about 15 minutes in prayer, because Jesus Christ is the answer to every need you may have. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching It's Time. If you have recently made a decision for Christ, Herman and Sharron would like to hear from you.